What up? What up? What up? I'm just waiting for people to come in. Also still waiting on our guests for today, but hopefully everybody is doing well. Well, here he is. Let me bring him in here. There he is. There he is. What's going on,
Well,
Jason? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I was backstage there. That's what that thing said.
Oh, my bad, my bad. I should. Maybe I'm still a novice to these new controls.
No, it's cool. I feel special. I feel like I'm on a late night Letterman show, and it's like, all right, cool. Well, here comes our special guest. Except no one's clapping for me, so maybe
They're
we're the only
clapping.
ones here.
No, they're clapping. Trust me, they're clapping. And you
Okay,
are
cool.
a very special guest. What time is it out? You're in South Africa, right?
Yeah, I'm down in Cape Town, so it is now 9:01 p.m. The kids are asleep.
Okay.
I'm winding down.
Okay.
But you got my full attention.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Let's jump right into it because we got a good amount of folks watching already. I want to just do a brief intro because there's a lot of people that are going to watch this time that probably didn't know that you even came on before, and I'm sure there's a ton of updates since the last. I even just looking at the website, it looks like there's been a facelift in the quality of or just the look of and feel of the website. Looks like it's changed quite a bit. So we'll talk about that. But Jason Grishkoff, did I pronounce that correctly?
Nailed it. Yep.
There we go. So give folks a little background on who you are, and just a brief intro into SubmitHub before we get into the details if people aren't familiar.
Cool. I'll try to give you the 2-minute rundown. I started a music blog back in 2008 at the peak of torrenting and illegal MP3 downloads. My blog was all over the spectrum as far as music. It's called Indie Shuffle, but we were covering electronic hip hop. I tried to get blog writers from every different subgenre, and we were doing it at exactly the right time in exactly the right place. A huge website called Hype Machine started aggregating all the music blogs. They took off. They became an industry standard from an A&R standpoint. Every major label was using them to discover the next acts. And if you hit #1 on Hype Machine, you were probably going to get booked to play Coachella, Bonnaroo, etc. You had everyone on there. Like, there's so many artists that we are familiar with today who kind of broke out back then, from Two Door Cinema Club to Kid Cudi to Childish Gambino to Foles to Adele, Lord, just within every different genre. There's so much going on. Didn't even get into the electronic stuff, but Disclosure, like, they rode that blog wave big time. So we were right place, right time. Spotify wasn't around. And even when they did begin, they just started in Sweden. Blogs were it, man. And so Indie Shuffle grew and it grew and it grew. And that was awesome. I was able to actually monetize it, make advertising revenue. Again, like, the internet was different. This was before Facebook and Google just absolutely ruined independent publishing online. And so in 2013, I quit my job. I was at Google, so it wasn't an easy decision to make, but I thought that running a music blog would give me tons of freedom. I mean, who wouldn't want that, right? You get to quit what you're doing to blog all day. Like, that's pretty cool. So I went ahead and I did that. And of course, the money dried up almost instantly. All my ad deals fell through. I started to do this, sort of questioning, what the heck am I doing? And I decided that I would take some of the skills I'd learned coding on the side and freelance for other websites. So I started whipping up music websites for different blogs. Probably the most notable one I did was for a website called This Song Is Sick. I worked on their website for a year, and then they decided not to roll it out. I was like, cool, as long as you pay me. But like, all things boiled down to me eventually going, okay, look, music blogging is not something that can really support an individual full-time, let alone a team. And there were a select few who could do it, but flash forward to 2020, and barely anyone can. So I decided to solve a problem that I had with Indie Shuffle, which was that we were getting 300 email pitches per day from artists who were predominantly buying Excel spreadsheets of blogs, copy pasting all the addresses, and sending a BCC email to everyone. And there were definitely some cool submissions in there, but it got to a point where we gave up. 300 emails a day. We were making barely any money. I was thinking about what I was going to do full time. I couldn't sit down and sift through all of this stuff. And so I decided, hey, here's a cool new thing I could work on, a different project. A simple form, artist name, song title, paste in your link, comes through in a nice stream for me, so I don't actually have to download a zip file or follow your link to Napster or Kazaa, or I'm on the torrenting thing, but like it brought some consistency to it. So in late 2015, I spent 3 months just head down coding this platform, using some of the skills I'd learned trying to develop Indie Shuffle, and I launched it November 2015. Super simple form, put an autoresponder on my email address that said, hey, Indie Shuffle's not checking email submissions anymore, but you can fill this out and we'll let you know. And what was really cool about it from our side was not only did it make decisions really easy, right? A song comes through, you get a thumb up or a thumb down. Thumb up meant we were blogging it. Thumb down meant better luck next time. But we also started listening to independent artists again. And that was cool. Our coverage on the website completely shifted. We went from parroting what other blogs were doing and sort of this groupthink type of thing to suddenly just being so focused on our new submissions that I had no clue what the other blogs were posting, which presents its own problems as well, which maybe we can get into a bit later. But like our content shifted and we started to focus on new cool stuff. And a lot of other blogs quickly approached me and said, hey, can we sign up to use this too? So I think within a month, I had about 10 different blogs on SubmitHub in its early infancy using this. And everyone was pretty stoked about it except for publicists. Because what it meant was that if you were an average artist, you were actually getting a response now. And up until that point, you would fire off your 500 emails and the 5 responses you did get were probably asking for some form of payola. That was it, right? Publicists, of course, were kind of bummed because they're like, this is how we marketed our product. We were the only ones who could contact you. And I was like, well, actually, I don't want to hear from you. So yeah, that's
Did I hear that right? That you initially created SubmitHub to receive your own submissions, and then only until you saw like other blogs interested in using it, or did you from the gate intend to plug in other blogs? From
the gate, I intended to plug in other blogs.
Okay.
I remember putting in a bunch of fillers like Pitchfork and other big names. I remember having that in my testing database so I could sort of play around with what was on there. Yeah. And when I first launched it, publicists could send to 10 outlets and artists could send to 2. And then you would get your credits refreshed every 4 hours. That system actually still exists. Artists still get 2 free credits every 4 hours, but it never goes above that. So you got to use them to get more. The publicists, unfortunately for them, don't get that sweet 10 deal anymore. But they don't have a choice anymore. I don't know.
So just before we jump in, I want to just talk like about how you look at your business, because I always encourage artists, because they are businesses, to look at themselves. Like all entrepreneurs, I think, need to look at themselves the same way, in the sense of like continuing to evaluate your business and evolve with the times. Right? So how is it? And because the music industry, it changes fairly quickly with new tools and resources and things like that. Like, how do you look at just your business and how it's evolving, and how quickly do you feel like it's important to adapt to those changes?
You got to adapt quickly. It's been about 5 years now since I started coding it. Little under 5 years since it launched. When it began, it was just blogs. Music blogs were still the most relevant influencers in the market. Today, it's far more fragmented. I think people thought for a long time that Spotify playlists would replace blogs, so to speak. But I think the market's just become so saturated in a way that if you are an artist, you have to try and hammer it from as many different angles as you can. For me, blogs are still some of the coolest. They offer evergreen content. And what I mean by that is that you get SEO. You show up in Google on a blog, right? If someone puts you in an editorial playlist on Spotify and they pull you out a month later, you have nothing to prove for it unless you took some screenshots, maybe.
Right.
But with a blog post, someone searches for your song, and what's cool about it is it's not just going to be a SoundCloud link and a Spotify link that pop up. It's going to be someone writing about and connecting with and actually saying something about your song. And then blog posts tend to last forever. So blogs are still cool, but 2 years into it, we had to pivot to Spotify because that's what everyone was talking about. When I began in 2015, that's not what everyone was talking about. By late 2017, early 2018, people were starting to message me saying, cool, where's the Spotify playlist? And I was like, oh shit. Okay, let me quickly hack that together. So Spotify was, we opened up Spotify and YouTube submissions around roughly the same time. But it's constantly evolving, right? Because now what's everyone buzzing about today? It's TikTok, right? So you got to keep up with TikTok. There's some problems with TikTok. We've tried to pivot a lot into the Instagram influencer space. I still haven't quite figured out how TikTok's going to work. So Playlist Push has rolled out TikTok, right? I don't know if you saw that, but it's a payola model, right? You pay to get shared. There's no merit in it anymore, and I struggle with that. And it might be a losing struggle at the end of the day because it's a younger group of people on TikTok and Instagram, and for them it's sort of the expectation. I'm going to put your song on my TikTok video for $30. So Playlist Push has launched Submit to TikTokers, and it's entirely payola, except you maybe get screwed twice because you pay Playlist Push a ton of money, which they keep, and then the TikTokers only get it if they want to share it. I'll get to that one, but I guess the moral of the story is, it's constantly changing, and so the way, I have to keep up in some ways.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't seem like it makes sense, but we'll continue talking about SubmitHub and all the positive qualities around that, because I'm not too familiar with that model, or I haven't kept up with what Playlist Push is doing either. We did have them on before, but haven't seen what they're doing with TikTok. So
payola, that's what they're doing. They're doing organized payola. It's blatant. It's not against TikTok's terms. It's not against anyone's terms necessarily. I think it's just with some of us who are a bit older in the music industry or more experienced, we know deep down that payola is sucky.
Right.
And I just don't like to see it happen. But I am debating launching a marketplace that would allow people to essentially sell TikTok packages. But I haven't fully thought that one through yet.
It's not necessary. I know payola has a negative connotation, and justifiably so in a lot of cases. But I see it happening in legit ways all the time as well. So it's just, I think it's just on a case by case basis. So, but yeah, it's
definitely still against Spotify's terms. So if you ever have a playlist offer to put you in them for a fixed amount of money, be it $5, $10, or $100,
right,
walk the other way, because you're not only risking your own profile, but you're probably dabbling in a playlist that is full of fake listeners and fake followers.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that. Let's walk through how SubmitHub works and why artists, what the potential is there for some exposure and feedback on the platform.
Okay, cool. So I think what makes SubmitHub different from many of the other promo platforms out there is that we don't promise anything. A quick Google search will pop up hundreds of Spotify promo websites that will sell you guaranteed plays, guaranteed placements, etc. SubmitHub at its very core is a communication tool, or at least that's the way I like to think about it. So it solves the problem that the music industry used to have, where artists would SubmitHub guarantees response from the curators that you submit to. The other thing SubmitHub does is it gives you a ton of transparency and data about who you're going to send to. So you can see exactly what their genre preferences are, their historical biases, where they share, how many listeners they have on their playlists, what type of blog posts they do, that type of stuff. So We're basically a directory in a way, and you as a submitter come through, we give you a ton of information, and then you decide who you want to send to. So when you send your music to people, you can either do it for free, as I mentioned earlier, or you can pay roughly $1 per submission. Right now you can get credits for about 64 cents each, but a curator asks for credits, and in exchange they're going to give you three things. They're going to give you a response within 48 hours, which is pretty big. And I mean, I guess today we almost take that for granted, but 3 or 4 years ago, that was like a huge thing. So you definitely get a decision in 48 hours. If they don't like your song, we ask them to explain why. And this one tends to be one of the harder parts of SubmitHub for artists to digest, especially someone who's new on the website, right? So you're putting out your song, you send it to a curator, they don't like it that much. Now they have to explain why they don't like it. For bloggers, it's a lot easier.
I just want our audience to get comfortable with feedback, because I will let you know right now that from my experience, I have not been impressed. And I guess I'm a fairly hard person to impress, but even despite that, like, a lot of music isn't good. Like, that's just, a lot of independent music is not good. So, this feedback is important. It's valuable. But if somebody doesn't like your music, it's best to, not get upset. And, not to say that just one person not liking your music, you got to change up everything. But if that seems to be the consistent theme, if that's the consistent theme that people are not liking your music, you have to figure out what you're doing wrong, right? It's probably, you just have to continue to hone your craft, just have to get better. I mean, there's a small possibility that you just haven't gotten in front of the right market, but it's probably that you need to continue to develop your craft. I think this feedback that you're getting on SubmitHub or from anyone is extremely valuable. But I think you have to be in the right mind and to prepare yourself to hear honesty. And I think this is a great platform for that. I think
you got to have thick skin. Otherwise, you're going to end up looking like Kanye. The reality is, like, not everyone's going to like your music, right? Even, I've heard people joke sometimes. They're like, yo, I sent in a Bob Dylan track and even that got rejected. And I go, well, so what? Not everyone likes Bob Dylan.
Right.
Not everyone likes the Beatles. Look, the most successful songs on SubmitHub end up still walking away with a 70% rejection rate. So they send it out to 10 people. Those people are targeted as well. So they've seen, okay, this person likes R&B, or this person likes ambient techno, drone, whatever it is that your niche is. So you can target pretty well. And even when you do that, you're going to walk away getting rejected a lot. And Dame, I gotta say, I disagree with you on one thing.
Which part?
The quality of music today is actually really high. And that's part of what makes it so difficult.
You're probably getting a different crop of artists sending you music. So
possibly, right? Maybe it's more finished products, and maybe the people who come to SubmitHub tend to have a more finished product that they're trying to market, right? But okay, all right, so fair point on that. But I'll say maybe that's what makes SubmitHub so difficult, is that once you feel like you've got your finished, polished, finalized product, right? You've mixed it, you've mastered it. You went to so-and-so's famous studio and you shelled out $1,000 for the day. The reality is that 90% or more of the other artists you're competing with on SubmitHub have a similar level of quality. And so your song is ultimately going to come down to this, like, to use French, je ne sais quoi. Like, you don't know exactly what the thing is that's going to make your song special. If we did know what made a song special, like, we'd all be Taylor Swift's writer, right? Very few people have that ability to write the perfect song every time.
Right.
But for me, as a curator, as a listener, like, sometimes I just really like the progression of the melody. I go, wow, you kind of surprised me a bit. I thought, it followed the standard melody, but then it did this. And then the thing you did with the drums over there was dope. And it's such a finicky, picky thing. Like, I'm sitting here, I've got an email in my inbox I need to respond to right now with someone saying, yo, thanks for the summary, but I'm not going to use this shit again because it seems like your curators are, like, way too picky. And I'm thinking, well, no, that's the whole point. There's a complete oversaturation of the market, right? And And SubmitHub exists because that balance got shifted to the wrong side, right? If you're a curator today, you probably get into it because you enjoy it, or maybe you just want to make some payola on TikTok. I don't know. But you quickly find that you're overwhelmed for choice, and you do start to get picky. And I think SubmitHub is a reflection of that in a way. So as an artist, you're going to go on the website, choose 50 people to send to. 40 of them are going to say no. Hopefully 10 of them say yes. The feedback you get is going to be all over the place. Some of these people, these curators, know how to write. The bloggers, for example, they can actually put their words into, or they can turn their ears into words. I don't know. Maybe I can't. Maybe I'm not a good blogger. Whereas the Spotify playlister, for example, they're really good at curating a playlist, but they're probably not as good about expressing themselves or their feelings or why they don't like a song. So I think it's important to go into SubmitHub knowing that a chunk of the feedback you get back can be taken with a grain of salt. It's someone who didn't like your song, struggled to figure out how to say no. Maybe they nitpicked a certain thing. Like one person's going to say, dude, the vocals just weren't working for me on this one. And the next one's going to be like, I love the vocals, but the production doesn't work for me. And you're going, what production? Like what? And he said he liked the vocals and you don't like the vocals. But
right.
I think once you've used it enough, you come to realize that I think that's one of the things that makes SubmitHub cool and unique is that they are real people on the other side. And this is one of the first times you're going to take your song and just cast your net out to a wider audience and say, cool, what do you guys think? And it's not your mom. She's not going to say, I love it. It's going to be some random like 18-year-old who happens to have a YouTube channel and they're just sitting here being like, stupid song.
Right.
Don't know.
And I hope I want to establish people's expectation for the feedback too, because you're not going to get a 3 or 4 page like deep analysis.
No, it's $1.
You paid $1. You paid $1. Like you can't establish your, have your expectations kind of checked when you kind of going into this, so that you're not like, oh man, all he said was my production, wasn't up to par. Like elaborate. Like you paid $1. So know that going into this as well. And what are the different types of platforms available on SubmitHub? So there are some curators, some bloggers. Like what are the different?
So ultimately, one of the reasons you're going into SubmitHub is that you're hoping that you're going to get your music shared to a wider audience. So it's not all just feedback and rejection. The average approval rate's about 15% right now. So what does that mean and where are you going to get shared? Started with blogs, expanded to YouTube and Spotify. We've got SoundCloud channels on there. We've got radio. We've got some streamers. We've got a couple hundred Instagram influencers that we've recently opened it up to. And we've got a few TikTokers on there as well. The coverage you're going to get on each platform varies greatly. And you'll see when you're on SubmitHub, there are 3 scores that get applied to each curator, one of which is called an influence score. And that tends to be based on where they're sharing. So you'll get to see upfront, right? You send to Indie Shuffle, cool, they're a Hype Machine listed blog, so they're going to write a blog post about you, and if you get picked up, you'll also be on Hype Machine, which feeds into God knows what, but probably helps you with editorial playlists as well. Or you might see, cool, they're a YouTube channel, they average 25,000 views on each of their uploads. You can go check out their channel, see what they've been sharing recently. So you're kind of hoping, I mean, for me, YouTube channels tend to be one of the most influential. Some of these guys can pull 100,000, 200,000 views on your video. And typically they're going to ask for monetization rights in exchange.
Right.
But that's still a ton of exposure, right?
Right.
Spotify playlisters, none of them are editorial. Spotify's editorial team is notoriously closed or insular. And they have their own submission method, which has its ups and downs. But the idea with independent playlisters is that you're trying to trigger Spotify's systems in a way with hope that you're going to get a great save ratio, or that inclusion in all these playlists will help. Again, we don't know what Spotify's algorithm is, but you're kind of hoping you'll get something from it. Most independent playlisters these days are lucky to be pushing 100 to 200 listeners a month. There are some though that really move the needle. We've got a guy with a playlist called Tech House 2020. who's pulling like 50,000 listeners per song per month, which is definitely at the level of a good Spotify editorial playlist. Obviously not the best of the best, but so that can be all over the place. And one of the things that's cool about SubmitHub is that you get to see upfront where people share, how often they share, and what kind of engagement they get on it. So Spotify doesn't tell you publicly how engaged a playlist is or how many listeners they have, but we do. We got that data. And we let you see it all up front. You don't even have to create an account. You can just go to submithub.com/blogs right now, and it's there. No account needed. You can see exactly how many listeners each playlist gets. So
nice.
That's a rundown of who you can send to, I guess.
Nice. No, I think it's a great place to get feedback. You know, I found out about SubmitHub after the label I used to run crashed and burned. But you know, I think if SubmitHub would have been available because we started in like 2008, 2009, it definitely would have been a great source to get, you know, feedback and some potential placements, because again, like you said, there's real people behind this feedback on the other side. It's not a bot. We've talked a lot about bots and scams and stuff on the MEC podcast. You know, and you know, just trying to expose some of those things and get people to shy away from them. But
it's a challenge.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I do want to. I know there's some people that were asking questions already, and maybe we'll start that. I typically have a few other questions before we jump into audience questions, but I saw some questions, and for the people that are watching this for the first time, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or Periscope or Twitch, we can see all of your comments. So post your questions in the comments, and I'll try to get to as many of them as I can. If there's a lot, but go ahead and post your questions. I'll wait a second for them to come through. I think somebody just asked earlier, like, what is payola? And I just to answer that really quick, payola is when you pay somebody for something. So like, you know, pay to get on radio or pay, you know, there's no merit. It's not based on the quality of your music. It's just kind of you paying and with the hopes that the person will do what they say. So somebody wants to how did Facebook and Google ruin it? Kind of off topic.
Oh, I got this.
But
you want it?
But interesting. Kind of off topic, but interesting. How did Facebook and Google ruin music publishing?
Okay. I'll hit this real quick. So I don't know if it's music publishing specifically, but I was talking about how they sort of took down blogging. There were three factors. It was Facebook, Google, and Spotify that took a lot of blogging's audience, and because they provided superior products, I suppose. Number one was Google. If you used to search for a song, the first website that would show up would be a blog. It used to be. But if you search for a song now, the first thing is going to be this giant YouTube preview that takes up your entire search result. And guess where everyone clicks? They click on that YouTube preview. That was thing number one. And when they rolled that out in 2014, night and day difference between how much traffic Indie Shuffle was getting and pretty much any blog. Facebook, it's not just music blogs they killed, it's independent publishers in general. But in late 2013, they rolled out promoted posts as their monetization. Genius move, right? But up until then, we'd all been building up these massive Facebook pages. And every time I would post, we were posting like every 3 hours, we would put up a post on our Facebook, and we were getting more than 1 million visits a month through Facebook. We had 100,000 followers. We were growing like crazy. And Facebook, geniuses that they are, just suddenly said, cool, now you've got your fan base. Hey, everyone, we don't care if you're a cooking blog, fashion blog, music blog, whatever. Good news, you can now pay to contact them. And overnight, we lost 1 million visitors per month, straight up. So a lot of blogs ended up beginning their slow demise there, where they, had to lay off their staff, couldn't do it full time, had to go get a day job, couldn't discover music the way they were anymore. So that kind of killed things there. And then of course, Spotify it's a superior product. You can take your phone anywhere, download music offline. It works on all your devices. And music blogs, I mean, if you're one of those people who was back around there in 2008, 2009 on like Two Dope Boys and DJ booth and all these websites, they were janky. There was, and like the next song didn't play, and you didn't get a full album, but you could download MP3s, and people don't do that anymore. So those are sort of the three things: Facebook, Google, and then ultimately Spotify, that kind of put a nail in music blogging's coffin. But that's not to say that music blogging is dead. I think I mentioned earlier, of course, there's the huge value of evergreen content. There's people writing about your music that shows up in Google that you can actually share as social proof too. Like when you go to your fan base and say, hey, I'm in a Spotify playlist. But it's way cooler, I think, to share a blog post and be like, hey, here's someone who did an analysis of my song and connected with it. And then industry professionals still look at music blogs too. So right. They've lost a lot of their day-to-day users, but they're still quite relevant. A&R filters.
Yeah, I actually was gonna say the same thing, because I know that there's, from what I understand, a lot of curators of playlists still kind of check to blogs to kind of filter through all of the noise. Like you mentioned before, there's so many songs getting uploaded to Spotify every single day. If there's a blog that a particular curator likes, I think he or she is gonna continue to check that to kind of filter through a lot of the noise, because they literally just can't listen to all of the music. So yeah, blog.
And we've definitely, I've been approached by artists who we blogged on Indie Shuffle who get picked up for Netflix soundtracks. So I mean, that's kind of a cool thing, and it gives you an idea of the type of profile that actually still visits blogs. It tends to be a lot more industry people who are actively looking for new music and don't want to have to sit there and listen to 300 songs a day. They want someone else to do that first step for them, and then they come check it out.
Yeah, and then I guess the last two benefits I guess this is not an exhaustive list, but two more benefits of blogs is, I know that if you're looking to get verified on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, like that's one of the metrics they use, is some, do you have some press that's been written about you? And then I guess the other thing that was beneficial for us when we started getting blogged, because a lot of even back then, like a lot of the blog placements weren't driving that much traffic, because I could see on our YouTube like what was driving the views. Like we were ultimately driving the views from our fan base, but your fans seeing you get blog coverage, it shows them that you're progressing, and it gets them excited that you're coming out from your basement and actually having other people validate your success. So there's some value in that as well. I'm not sure if you can answer this question, but if you can, it'd be great. Do you think emerging record labels are needed?
Here's the way I look at record labels. So you can submit to labels on SubmitHub. There's a few hundred of them. The idea is that you're opening a conversation with them. I've never signed to a label. I'm not an artist currently. Maybe I will in the future, but I look at it as a business partner. If you truly love making music, but you hate sitting down at the computer and smashing out your social media, submitting to people, trying to book gigs, trying to think of your brand, trying to do all of that, all you want to do is make music, then you got to look for a partner. And that partner could be a record label. That partner could just be a manager, it could be your friend, whatever, but you're looking for a business partner. If you're going to treat yourself as a business, it's kind of like, a lot of tech startups will have the guy who does the tech, and then the guy who like pitches and sells the product and does the sales and all of that, right? So it's playing to your strengths. And for me, I look to record labels as a way for you as an artist to basically find a business partner. Right. So emerging labels definitely still have their space, and there are artists out there looking for someone to guide them through this wild, wild west. But the downside, of course, is that you're giving up a piece of your music, right? Most labels are going to ask for a cut of whatever you're doing, as would anyone else trying to partner with you on a business. And a lot of the tools are available to you as an artist. I mean, like if you're in this chat room here, you're already pretty internet savvy. If you're part of MEC, you're definitely getting a good dose of internet education on the regular. And so a label might not be for you in that case.
And then my perspective, obviously having run a successful independent label, I'm going to be biased, but I think because I think the biggest thing that we gave to an artist that we signed was a fan base that trusted us to deliver a certain quality, right? And that's something that majors can't even really guarantee, right? Because if you sign to Sony or Atlantic, or there's not really fans of Atlantic, fans of Sony, like we already had kind of an audience that really trusted how we moved and what we did. So if we signed a new artist, they got a pretty strong wave of immediate exposure, and you got an opportunity to make those people immediate fans of what you're doing, because they already wanted to be fans. All you needed to do was deliver, you know, content that was consistent with the quality that we previously put out. And now you got like kind of like an overnight fan base. So I think there's more of an opportunity today if the people that are running these labels really understand branding, really understand fan engagement, to really have a leg up. And I've said this before, have a leg up on some major labels. You know, the major label might have more money, they might have more relationships and stuff like that, but that fan connection is crucial. You know, that's ultimately what you're looking for. And if there's a platform that can give you that immediate fan interaction and engagement, I think that's extremely valuable.
My just final thought there is, no matter what you do, if you're thinking about working with a label, make sure you meet with them, talk with them, understand them, make sure you get along. Don't just sign an internet deal because you chatted with someone.
Yeah.
Like, at the very least, get on a Skype video chat.
I've heard a lot of that. And even from the label's perspective, like I followed the artist for a long time before even reaching out to them. And then once we reached out to them, it was like because even from our perspective, it's like, we're not going to let you into this family if I don't really know a lot about you, you know. But some of these artists are signing internet deals, and I'm not saying don't do that necessarily, but take your time and really, you know, cross all the T's and dot all the I's.
Get to know who you're working with, right? Yeah. You wouldn't sell over half of your business to someone you don't know. And then also meet all your, I mean, you could call it a family, meet all your brothers and sisters, like all the other artists who are on that label, get a feel for their experience, that type of stuff, whether you jive, all that.
For sure. All right, so we get this one's kind of long. I've been using SubmitHub since beta, and I think it's one of the most
cool. I read this one.
For indie artists. Thank you for creating it. I've raised my approval percentage above 10% this year. Recently, I ran two campaigns for 2 artist releases, and one blog said the same thing in their feedback, but changed a few words. I know there is a preventative measures built into the platform, but if I do notice that happening, should I notify SubmitHub directly?
Totally. We spend a lot of time going through feedback and coaching blogs on how to do it. For me, the feedback serves, like, the most important thing about the feedback, and the reason I coded it to begin with, is it's supposed to demonstrate that they listened without hitting mute. Someone recently asked for all their money back because unless I could prove that the blogs weren't listening on mute. And my honest answer there is I cannot prove it. Like, technology, browsers cannot communicate with computer hardware that way. So I can't actually tell if their speaker's on mute. It's impossible. And so the feedback's intended to demonstrate, first and foremost, that they listened. Some people are very helpful with their feedback and constructive, but what we're looking for from the SubmitHub admin side is to make sure that they're at the very least demonstrating that they listened to your song and are giving a valid reason for why they're taking a pause. So if you get 2 pieces of feedback that are almost identical, there could be a few things going on. Maybe your songs sound pretty similar. Maybe they're just being consistent. Maybe they have sort of a bit of a template in their head for the way that they write their feedback. Some curators do that, right? You're pumping out 50 feedbacks a day. You, what have I heard? To do like a nice sandwich, or is it a shit sandwich? I don't know. But like the start with a compliment, then let you down, but then end with you know, look forward to hearing more from you. I think the more you use the platform, you'll definitely start to encounter people who have more of a formula to their feedback. What's cool, 2 things. Number one, if you report it to us, we'll definitely look into it because it looks bad for us. We don't want that on the platform. Number 2, I've totally forgotten. Fuck. Oh, well. That's it. But yeah, we do spend a lot of time reviewing feedback all day, every day. We've got 2 new employees, Jamie and Carrie, who actually spend a lot of time looking into that, reporting issues, and helping those curators write better feedback. And oh yeah, maybe number 2 was that you can actually see everyone's feedback before you submit to them, if you didn't know. Like so I mentioned, there's just an overwhelming amount of information you can see when you're looking through this directory of who to send to. And one of the things on the right-hand side is there's a button to view their recent feedback. So you can get a taste of what they're going to write ahead of time. So
that's dope.
1, definitely report it to us. 2, pay attention to that, because on each of their profiles, there are notes that say users tend to report this curator's feedback is above average, or users tend to report that this curator writes really bad feedback. And then there's also the button you can click to see what type of feedback they write. So if you're kind of looking for really constructive feedback and you want to go into this hoping that you can gain more from that, then definitely keep an eye out for the notes that say they write above average feedback. There's some people on there that'll write like a paragraph because they want to, because they love to, and they feel like the artist deserves it.
That's dope. That's dope that you can see people's feedback. I guess that would be a good thing to do before
anonymously, of course. You can't see who they're writing their feedback about, but you can see each of their 5 most recent feedbacks.
Right. So what about are there a good amount of producers using the SubmitHub platform, and are they using it any differently than artists with finished like songs with beats and lyrics?
What's the difference? Sorry, my ignorance.
I mean, but I just, because obviously we're, obviously with this new partnership with BeatStars, we had a bunch of producers that attend our MEC sessions, but are there producers maybe submitting beats to get feedback on the platform as well?
Well, I would say the most popular trending genre right now is this chill lo-fi beats to study to type of thing. And so I don't know if those are producers in the sense that you're thinking of, but right now SubmitHub is absolutely flush with that type of music. And it's cool because I actually really enjoy that style. So it's one of our, for indie shuffle, it's one of our highest approved genres right now. Like it's hard to go wrong when you take a nice jazzy lo-fi beat. And so if that's what you mean, then yeah, lots of people are using it. There's a process as you go through submitting where it asks you if you've got lyrics or not. And I assume most producers wouldn't have lyrics.
Right.
So then you kind of do that. And then what it's going to do is it's going to pre-filter the list and get rid of any curators who do want lyrics.
So that's
you can make sure you've got alignment there.
So that option is probably, is exactly what I'm speaking towards. Because, again, we have a large producer community that may want to try to get there, because I know there's definitely playlists that are just instrumentals.
Tons of them, yeah.
So there are some opportunities like that, for producers as well.
It's the hottest thing right now, man. If you make lo-fi chill beats and you want to earn an internet living through Spotify streams, that's probably the top genre to be going at right now. The playlists are dime a dozen, and I tell you what. So here's what makes it so difficult with playlists to tell what's real and what isn't. Actually, it's becoming easier to tell what isn't. What I'm trying to say is most of the playlisters on SubmitHub are actually doing heavy advertising on Instagram to keep their playlists engaged and active. And they're doing this for a couple of reasons. One, they look better on SubmitHub, so they get more submissions, so they can make more money, which they can reinvest in advertising and hopefully grow their business that way. The other one is it helps boost their SEO rank on Spotify. So Spotify actually has SEO, search engine optimization, where you want to make sure if someone searches for chill beats, like your playlist shows up in the top 4, because then you get a bunch of organic, cool plays out of it.
Right.
So what we find is that a lot of these playlisters these days are actually advertising on Instagram to push their plays up. And we're also finding that most of these guys are doing lo-fi hip hop beats. I think we've got 30 or 40 playlisters per day applying to join SubmitHub. And we end up letting through 5 or 6 of them because some of them look obviously shady. But in a lot of the cases, they're like sending us evidence, giving us access to their ad dashboards. We can see exactly what they're spending. And yeah, I guess moral of the story is that it tends to be in these instrumental beat categories.
Nice. So what, I guess, is there anything that you can talk about that's in the works that will be new on SubmitHub in the coming months? Any new changes, features, or categories, or anything that you're able to speak about?
Secret
Yeah,
products coming up.
basically.
At the beginning of the podcast, you mentioned that the website's changed a lot since we last chatted. I think it's been about 2 or 3 years since we spoke. The reason is because I don't stop. I keep coding all day, every day. I mean, today I've rolled out a good 10 updates. I'm smashing like 15 different coding tasks every day. And I'm getting better at taking breaks over weekends, but things are moving quickly. So some of the broader products that we have coming up, a few of them are internal tools. So I definitely want to revamp our customer support system, but that's not anyone else's problem except mine. We've got these Instagram influencers that we've been signing up since the beginning of the year, and there are a couple hundred of them on the platform now. And it's been an interesting beta experience, if you will, to try and determine whether they move the needle or not. So the logic was Instagram supposedly monetizes music. If you're releasing your music through a distributor like DistroKid and all of that, you'll see the option to upload it to Instagram. So we thought, cool. Someone puts a music sticker on their story, they get 3,000 story views, you might get paid, right? And if it's anything like Spotify, 3,000 views will be, $5, $10, right? So that was one of the reasons we started to sign up all of these guys. The other one was, I mentioned most independent Spotify playlists will only bring in a couple hundred listeners, but a lot of these influencers are pushing 2,000, 3,000, 10,000 views on each of their stories. And so for us, it seemed a bit of a no-brainer to try and experiment with this and get them to sign up. The reality has been a bit different, I would say. So number one, Facebook's not really paying. And I don't know if this is just a really clever loophole, but on Spotify, I don't think it pays until they've listened to at least 20 seconds or 30
seconds, I think. Yeah.
Cool. So, and this, I don't know for sure, right? But stories are only 15 seconds long at the most, right?
Right.
So does Facebook just never pay royalties because it never hits 30 seconds?
Yeah, I have no idea. That's a very good question.
Yeah, I've been meaning to do a survey to collect information from artists who have been shared by influencers from SubmitHub over the last 3 months to see if their distributors have revealed anything about what Facebook's actually paying here. But from the 1 or 2 anecdotal data points I've received, it's diddly squat. Like one guy got a cent for 1,000 views.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
The other one, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh no. Go ahead. If you're gonna give insight into the
no
Instagram
insight into it. I think their argument would just be, it's promotion that hopefully eventually will lead to larger plays over 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's point number 2 is how much follow through there actually is. So with a music blog, you're talking about a hyper targeted audience, right? You might not pick up tens of thousands of views, but the 10 people who look at it probably work in the industry and are hyper targeted. So great quality. Spotify playlists, again, it's targeted. Your music is going into a playlist where people who like to listen to music are going to listen to it. Spotify's got its own pitfalls in that it's a very passive listening experience for most people. You put on a playlist and you do something else. And so the loyalty is not as strong through Spotify. But again, it's a music platform. People are there for music. Instagram, on the other hand, when people are sharing stories and they put a sticker on, like you're just swiping and you're not paying as much attention to the song. So I think one of the next visible big features to front-end users is that we're going to revamp this, and we might put them in sort of a bread basket, if you will, where the idea is that you can bulk submit to Instagram influencers and get 30 or 40 shares, because these guys tend to have really high approval rates. Their barrier to sharing is much less than a blog. Like a blog has to sit down with your song, write about it, publish it, put artwork on there, make sure it all looks pretty. An influencer can share 5 songs a day pretty easily. So the next feature we'll roll out is probably some revamp there, and then also a bit of a marketplace if I can try to figure out how this Tick-Tock thing actually works, because I'm too old. Maybe I've missed the boat by 20 years.
Yeah.
But I feel like I got to figure it out, right? And for some artists, it can be huge. I worry that TikTok is playing to artists' hopes and dreams in a misleading way, because like if I were to give the perfect example of a song that's going to blow up on TikTok, it's the Harlem Shake, right? For us slightly older people who would remember 10 years ago, the Harlem Shake took the internet by storm because it had such like a catchy drop. And if I go on TikTok, a lot of the songs doing well on TikTok also have some catchy element that you can do a weird dance to, or some like shift in your camera or whatever, right? But like the average indie rock song or definitely like a chill beat song is not going to blow up on TikTok.
Right.
I might be wrong. Maybe some have, but like you go on Playlist Push and you spend $500 on your TikTok campaign and you get 10 of these guys to pick it up because they love their payola. Sure, you got 10 TikTok shares. I bet it's going to stop there.
Right.
I just don't see like, because TikTok's all about virality and people imitating and these sort of memes that are going around and these dances and whatnot. And it's going to work for a certain type of music, but not others. So again, that's why I'm struggling. It's like a moral dilemma of whether I enable this and facilitate it because it's what people want, and having to balance that with the fact that deep down inside, perhaps due to ignorance, I don't know if it's actually worthwhile as an investment.
None. And I think that's why I really appreciate you and your platform, because you have that struggle. I think some people don't give a shit and they're like, it's working, then let's feed it. So I definitely I respect you for that. Another thing tangentially, like the producers that are watching, I wonder if you guys, maybe this will be a separate discussion, but I wonder how much producers are recognizing which beats are going viral on TikTok and like catering to that, like creating moments and beats where there's like that complete shift or just like that energy change, and how well that's working. If people are changing their art to respond to TikTok, I'm sure a lot of people are.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people complain that artists have already shifted their music to cater to Spotify and shorter attention spans. So I can only imagine that there's some very shrewd musicians out there who are going, hold up, we need to create this type of music if we ever want to try to blow up on TikTok. And so I don't want to sit there and have to screen it and be like, yeah, dude, this might not be the right thing for TikTok, or yeah, this totally is. Let me help promote it. So we'll see if I go that route. Some people in the chat are mentioning Instagram Reels. That's another interesting one. This all comes back to your earlier point of like, how do you keep up with all of this? Right. And I guess I'm just trying to watch. I'm in my chair, right? Just here watching.
Right. Well,
I'll figure it out, and then I can just code something together.
But yeah, I mean, but again, I hope that the people watching this are taking, there's a lot of gems that you dropped during this hour, but I really want people to kind of look at themselves as a business and just how you are kind of learning about the market and how it's evolving. Like, I need artists to do the same thing. I need you to constantly be, reevaluating your own brand, even the aesthetics of it, constantly improving kind of what it looks like, what it feels like, how you're engaging with your fans. Like, that process should be happening with you and your fans and your music as well, because you're a business. The last question, I don't know if this question is gonna make sense to you, because I don't know if I necessarily understand it, but it's my guy Impulse, so I gotta answer his question. Is there a general hierarchy of focus for the connections that get made, or is it on more of a case-by-case basis? I'm not sure. Does that question, or would you need more clarity?
Well, as the king, everything boils up to me. No, I can take a guess. I might get it wrong. Like, so for the connections here, are we speaking about the connections that you make with curators? Because when you do get approved, it opens up a dialogue with that curator. Typically through chats. I've built chat functionality into SubmitHub, and you can have a real-time chat with that curator. So you do create a connection. But I don't think I understand this question.
Okay. Well, we tried. We'll go. Well, Impulse, I tried, man. Maybe send me a DM or an email or something, and we'll try to get it cleared up. I'll send it.
Yeah, I got 5 more minutes if you do. We can answer another question in the meanwhile.
Okay.
Of your picking.
Impulse, if you're still on and you want to clarify that, put some more details around it. No questions for just me. I'll answer a question like in our Facebook group. This is an opportunity to pick Jason's brain.
Oh, hit me. Oh, here you go. Here's Impulse. Okay, all right. I get this. I think I get this. I guess you're asking for advice on who you should focus on. Perhaps.
Got it.
So this does boil down to something that I feel fairly strongly about. The music industry is really fragmented right now, and the internet as a whole has allowed lots of artists to get a little piece of the pie. The problem is that when you get picked up by one of these playlists or put in it, your pie, your little crumbs or whatever you've got is so distributed across the entire freaking world that if you ever want to have a show in a city, chances are no one's actually going to show up because you've only got 5 listeners from that city. Like, you might have thousands of listeners worldwide, but once you actually start to get into the meat and potatoes of where you can actually make some good money, which is on shows if they ever come back post-COVID, you're not going to be able to pull that draw. So for me, one of the things I like to focus on is the idea of creating 1,000 true fans. I forget the guy who wrote a book about this, but basically he said, no matter what your medium is, music, painting, knitting, whatever, all you really need is 1,000 true fans to support your craft. And what he means by true fans, these are people who are going to buy your t-shirt, they're going to buy your vinyl, they're going to click on all your links, they're going to tell their friends about you. It's that type of thing. So with that in back of mind, when I start to think about the hierarchy of who I'm sending to, I'm probably going to start by focusing on blogs first and foremost, because for me, they're still the ones where you can create these deeper connections, and it gives you a chance to actually have that fan. Like Spotify is a tough one in this case, right? Because we're all stuck at home, so where else can you make money, right? And you might actually blow up on Spotify, but at the end of the day, as soon as you get pulled from that playlist, like I saw someone in the chat mention they've picked up something along the lines of 400,000 listeners since getting put in Spotify's Lo-Fi Beats playlist. And that's real. You're going to get paid. You're probably going to walk away with more than $1,000 for that. Kevin Kelly, thank you. That's the 1,000 true fans. So it's real. You're going to walk away with some good money from that. And there are definitely artists making a living off of their Spotify streams. But for the majority of artists, as soon as you get pulled from those playlists, it dries up and you're done. And unless you have those 1,000 true fans to fall back on, you're going to be nowhere. And I tend to feel like Spotify listeners are not going to be your 1,000 true fans. Your 1,000 true fans should certainly be able to find you on Spotify, but you're probably not going to find those true fans on Spotify, because Spotify, as I mentioned earlier, is a really passive listening experience. I hardly ever pay attention to who I'm listening to when I put on a Spotify editorial playlist. I'm just trusting them to put it in cruise control and they play it. So coming back to the hierarchy of who you're going to submit to, if you have that thinking in the back of your mind, I would look for people who are local to you. For example, if you're based in the UK, target the UK influencers, the UK bloggers, try to open up that market. Get off of SubmitHub as well, right? Because maybe SubmitHub is part of the problem with this broader thing. And for me, a lot of it's like throwing spaghetti at a wall, right? You got to throw a ton of it and hope some of it sticks. So run your SubmitHub campaign, but then also go on Reddit and find the subreddit for your city, because there probably is one, and then just start randomly messaging people, being like, yo, I'm from your neighborhood. Do you want to check out my song? And they might tell you to get lost, but the next person you message might say, cool. So hopefully that I just went off on
I think that was helpful. Well, Jason, man, I appreciate it. It's not has it really been 2 or 3 years since the last time you were on? Has it been that long?
Yeah, I think so. I grew a beard. You grew a bigger beard. So, let's just answer Nate Bondabeat, because he's asked this question 3 times now. Is it wise to submit a song before releasing, or should I submit a release song? Start pre-release and keep going after it's released. SubmitHub will filter out curators based on their preference. So if it's pre-release, you're never going to send it to someone who doesn't want pre-release. We'll take care of that for you. But when you come back on a little bit later, you'll probably see a whole new batch of curators revealed, because now that your song's released, they're interested. So both are fine.
Dope. Cool. Well, I think this session had a ton of great information. Thank you for staying up late and joining us on our new platform. It's been great. The partnership's been great. We've gotten access to a lot more artists and producers. So, we're just trying to educate as many young creators as possible. So thank you for joining us and helping us do that.
Cool. Happy to help. And then, if anyone ever has direct questions, you can feel free to hit me up at jason@submithub.com.
And you're on Twitter too, right? You are on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. It's me. I'm the one there. There's also the chat rooms on SubmitHub as well. There's the artist chat room where I spend half the time deleting self-promo posts. But there are some good conversations that actually happen. There's other chat rooms on SubmitHub. There's a networking chat room where you specifically can go and network and try self-promo. There's the support chat room. There's also the secret bloggers chat room, which y'all are not invited to. But yeah, it's I'm available. You'll find me.
Well, yeah, man, let's keep in touch. Let's make sure it's not a whole 2 years before we connect again. And if there's anything new that pops up that you think, hey, we should get on and talk about this, please reach out to me as well, as there's new updates in the platform or the industry. Cool. Or just ranting that you want to do. It's all good.
Oh man, ranting. Whew. We'll take that off record.
Cool. All right, everybody. Thursday, you'll be with Payne. And once again, I have no idea what he's talking about, but the schedule is on the Music Entrepreneur Club website and it's on our Facebook page. So check it there. Until then, I'll see you guys next Monday. Peace.
Later, Hosen.